This feeling of guilt is the magic potion which turns crimes committed by those in poverty into an example of a flawed system that unjustly hurts certain groups of people for no reason, and for this, the liberal develops a generalized hatred of Western civilization and his country.
Do you believe that America is exceptional?
No, not really.
I feel like at some points in history we were exceptional, but we've kind of taken a little downfall.
Can you pinpoint one or two of those downfalls?
Liberals, unless they are professional politicians needing votes, are not subject to strong feelings of national patriotism and are likely to feel uneasy at patriotic ceremonies. When a liberal journalist uses the phrases "a patriotic organization," the adjective is the equivalent to meaning stupid, reactionary, and ludicrous. The rise of liberalism to predominance in the controlling sectors of American opinion is in almost exact correlation with the decline in the ceremonial celebration of the 4th of July, traditionally regarded as the nation's major holiday. To the liberal mind, the patriotic oratory is not only banal, but subversive of rational ideas. The liberal scholar has many books demonstrating his relativity in morality and his diversity of religions and cultures, and he decries the backwardness of those Westerners who still believe that in some rather important sense, Western civilization is superior to Islam, communism, Buddhism, atheism, and is worth preserving over these types of civilizations. Liberalism has been making moves to prevent others from expressing their own patriotism in recent years by marking patriotism as discriminatory and therefore able to regulate and prevent it.
13-year-old Taryn Hathaway drew an American flag like this one, only hers with little dots. Under the words, "God bless America," were also on it. It was all part of the art class. When her teacher saw the picture, the teacher told Taryn, "You can't draw that. That's offensive."
And you said that there was an incident where your friend put up an American flag in his dorm room, and what did his roommate say?
Yeah, so my friend, who's a freshman on the first day of college, took out an American flag from his suitcase, and his roommate stopped him, saying that the presence of the flag on a wall was a political statement that he was unwilling to make.
Patriotism and nationalism, too, are non-rational and discriminatory to the liberal. They invidiously divide and segregate one group of men from humanity, and do so not in accord with objective merits determined by deliberate reason, but as the result of habits, customs, traditions, and feelings inherited from the past. Patriotism and patriotic nationalism thus come under liberalism's logical taboo, and liberals have been working to screen patriotism even those of the past had for this country. A study showed that Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty or give me death" quote was cited in 12 of 14 older books, but was only in 2 of the 45 newer books used in public education even in the 1970s. Nathan Hale's reputed words, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country," was in 11 of 14 books pre-1960 and in only 2 of 45 of the newer books.
It's ironic, isn't it, that the thing that you have to do is actually burn the flag, don't stand up, don't put your hand. Those are the things that make it more American. That's the beauty of the Constitution. It makes it even more American to do that.
I think what he did was like heroic. I think it's great. It's sending a message, and that's exactly what I feel like this country needs.
I would say it's pretty heroic. I like that people that stand up for what they believe in.
And I understand why he resents the flag in the first place.
I thought maybe it was about time we returned to the patriotism in America. There's not enough of it. It seems to be lost.
Bob Michaelis is catching some heat from town officials for placing several American flags in front of his business.
I put the flags up yesterday, and the city says, the town of Lexington says they've got to come down. It means a lot to me.
He's talking about his American flag that he proudly put up when he moved in just a few days ago. But then an apartment manager here at the lodge on El Dorado told him he had to take it down.
What really stunned me is that she said it's a threat towards the Muslim community. I mean, I'm not a threat towards nobody.
The American Mirror reports, as Americans show their love of country this Independence Day, they're being forced to battle thieves, vandals, and arsonists.
The older liberalism initially believed that freedom was the top priority and had a high opinion of individualism, but the new liberals' main priority is not freedom, but collective protection and government responsibility to provide that protection to its people, even if it means the sacrifice of freedom. In fact, freedom is low on the priority list for the new liberal, but there has been a shift from old-fashioned liberalism, which was more aligned with laissez-faire economics and champions of freedom, both in economics and in speech. Even liberal influencer John Stuart Mill gave insistent and repeated utterance to his distrust of governmental operations. Mill opposed out of hand government interference with the citizens' liberty of thought, speech, and action, In one of his famous essays on liberty, Mill writes, "The most cogent reason for restricting the interference of government is the great evil of adding unnecessarily to its power. Every function superadded to those already exercised by the government causes its influence over hopes and fears to be more widely diffused and converts more and more the active and ambitious part of the public into hangers-on of the government, or of some part which aims at becoming the government. All these different enterprises were appointed and paid by the government and looked to the government for every rise in life. Not all the freedom of the press and popular constitution of the legislature would make this or any other country free otherwise than in name." But now liberalism is about being an advocate of more government intervention to alleviate and equalize the social conditions between rich and poor. There comes a point, and liberalism has passed that point, to which one side must give way. Because the dispute between freedom and individualism and collective regimentation has been settled, and the new radical liberalism has taken the driver's seat. Liberalism in the past used to be at least somewhat patriotic and nationalist. The old liberal did believe in self-government. The liberal of the 19th century did not share the globalist anti-war pacifism that liberalism represents today. Liberalism of the 19th century resembled more imperialism than pacifism. The 19th century liberal did believe in self-government and national sovereignty. What this meant, however, is that Western civilization should be willing to fight to preserve its distinct character. But to fight for freedom, to want to stand for national sovereignty, is for one to suggest that some civilizations are better than others, which in today's liberalism is a big no-no. What this means is that this patriotism with Christianity has been replaced with globalism. But the liberal move from patriotic to globalist is not hard to uncover. From the theoretical point of view, there is no reason why democratic centralization should stop with a single nation. Modern liberal doctrine tends naturally toward internationalist conceptions and the ideal of a democratic world order based through one mode or another on the majority will of all mankind. To the liberal, it has become self-evident that national sovereignty is an outworn concept that must be drastically modified, if not altogether abandoned. Walt Whitman Rostow said, quote, "It is legitimate American national objective to see removed from all nations, including the United States, the right to use substantial military force to pursue their own interests. Since this residual right is the root of national sovereignty and the basis for the existence of an international arena of power, it is therefore an American interest to see an end of nationhood as it has been historically defined." Remarks like these reveal that when modern liberals talk about peace and liberty, they are dealing with ideological absolutes, not with the empirical facts of contemporary world affairs. That the three absolutes, peace, disarmament, and the end of nationhood mutually imply each other, the end of nationhood being the New World Government. He may rather rejoice after that because it will seem a step towards the global justice and the peace that he seeks. American liberalism tends to a thoroughly instrumentalist interpretation of the Constitution and holds that the meaning of the Constitution should be understood as wholly dependent on time and circumstance. Actually, liberalism is logically committed to such an interpretation of any Constitution, written or unwritten.
Leftists on the court do not see the Constitution as a piece of law, right, to be interpreted like the Sherman Antitrust Act or like Obamacare. They see the Constitution as a piece of poetry to be interpreted as their feelings dictate. And this is the point that I'm making about Kennedy.
This is the through line through sort of everything we're talking about.
That's right. And this is the point that I'm making about Kennedy, specifically in the gay marriage decision. There is not one iota of evidence that the law, that when it was written, meant anything to this effect, or that it meant to leave an open space for the Supreme Court to come in and leverage down on states same-sex marriage. Laws mean what they mean when they're written. They don't mean what they mean 200 years from now. If somebody picks up this interview in 200 years and starts to read into my perspective that I'm super pro-homosexual behavior, I would be a little bit surprised, right? But that's essentially what happened in 1868. Yeah. He's taking a clause that was written by a bunch of people who were very much not in favor of even, forget homosexual marriage, who criminalized sodomy, right? Mm-hmm. And saying to them, okay, well, those people really meant, what they really meant here was pro same-sex marriage.